Welcome to the Alec Diaz Show. My name is Alec Diaz, and I'll be your host. Let's go! Welcome back to the Alec Diaz Show, episode 2. Don't be a follower, be a leader. So let me take you back. I was in class one day and we are just, messing around as kids and laughing and joking, doing what everyone else was doing and not thinking about the consequence. And my teacher had enough. And she said to all of us, go ahead and change your behavior card from green to yellow. If you guys ever grew up with those cards, then you would know exactly what I meant. So green meant good, yellow meant trouble, and red meant, you just got to save yourself. And I knew the second I got home, my mom was going to be mad. So my mom found out, and I was expecting her to be yelling and maybe perhaps make a scene. But she was honestly cool and calm and collected. And she just looked at me and said, don't be a follower, be a leader. And that was it. I felt the weight of it. And honestly, that small but significant phrase shaped the rest of my life. It trailed me everywhere through me being the captain of my high school basketball team into the corporate environment where I led multi-million-dollar software engineering teams, started companies, my own consulting practice, and even autonomous AI. And all the way up to the point where I've been able to speak to thousands of business owners, entrepreneurs, students, and just pour everything that I learned into them. And I'm somewhere north in between 10,000 hours of collective project management, leadership, and execution experience. But it all started with that one phrase that my mom told me across from that dinner table. So what is a leader? And most people try to define this and they'll say something like, oh, they're a strong-minded person, they're honest, driven, they have integrity or courage, or even sometimes like handsome. I don't know. But those are nice qualities, and some of them might describe a good leader, but none of them is leadership. And John Maxwell puts it together real nice and said, leadership is influence, nothing more and nothing less. That reframed everything for me. Leadership isn't just a title, isn't a position or how people actually like report to you. It's influence and influence alone, which means the question like, am I a leader? And whether you've noticed it or not, you already been influencing people or have been influenced, by your family, your friends, your coworkers, the kids that are in your life. And, people also watch the way you live and you influence other people even through the actions that you take. So there definitely have been moments in your life where you have led someone towards something. But the question is what are you influencing those people towards? So Hitler was a leader and he influenced a nation towards destruction. Martin Luther King Jr., he was a leader, but he influenced the nation towards equality. So the question is not if you're a leader or not. It's the question of where are you leading your followers towards? Is it towards purpose, discipline, faith, growth, a certain objective that's going to help better the followers' lives? And that's what really matters. So I love to look at words in Hebrew because there's so much wisdom that we could find. And those roots go back thousands of years, even before English. So the Hebrew word influence is hashfa'ah. Hashfa'ah. And I'll put it on the big screen. It comes from the root word shin pe ayin, the same root as shefa, which means abundance or overflow. So picture some type of vessel so full that it spills over to everything around it. And that's the picture built right into the word. Influence is a force. It's an overflow. So whatever is inside of you is what overflows out of you. If fear is there, fear overflows. If faith and love is within, then that will spill out. So vision, faith, discipline, anything that is within you that is overflowing would pour into those around you. And that's why leadership doesn't start with what you say or the position that you have. It starts with who you are and what is your identity. And here's what a lot of people get twisted. Oh, they'll say, oh, he's a great manager, she's a great leader. Like the two words mean the same, and they don't. Management is coordinating and overseeing resources, people, money, time, systems, budgets, making sure everything is organized and getting executed. And you need that. It's very important. Businesses need it, teams need it, projects need it. And we're not knocking management, as I have so many different certifications, my PMP, CPA, PM, and CSM, and all these other certifications. Management is very important because it helps us steward the resources that we have. But leadership is influence, and it's a different muscle. A great manager can run a department, hit a budget, and keep the machine going, and still not inspire a single person or move them towards a bigger vision. And a natural leader can have vision, pull people in, and still fall apart when it comes to timelines, resources, and even follow through. So the real challenge is finding the rare ones who can actually do both. People who can influence and execute. Character and results. The best leadership lesson I ever learned about that, it actually didn't come from a book. It came from family. So years ago, I wanted to build a basketball training app, and I just stepped into project management at work, and I figured like, okay, how hard it could be. I know a lot of engineers. I do this for a living. So I sat down with one of my engineers and also a business analyst. His name is Dylan. Shout out to Dylan. And we wrote up this nice big business requirements document where we went through all the different features of the app, and I had all these different ideas. And it's going to have shot tracking, counter for trainings completed, calendar integration to remind you and to keep you accountable, gamification so you can level up, AI features to coach you like you had a real trainer in your pocket. The vision was to make training more fun, more measurable, more accessible, and feed it into my nonprofit and the youth, Kingdom Hooper. So I was fired up. I started telling all the engineers, telling local players, and even hunting for sponsors. And one of my engineers helped me onboard 3 more engineers. And then I brought on 2 interns. I brought on a UI UX designer, Dylan, he was already aboard, and an AI expert. And we had this big meeting, and I brought all the engineers, and I painted the vision, and I told them all the great things about the application, and everyone was stoked. They were ready to build. And we started, and that's where it all fell apart. And let me be honest with you. I knew what I wanted, like, of course, millions of users, one day real impact on players to support, my nonprofit as well. But I wasn't clear. I didn't know how all the features were going to fit in together. I didn't know if people would use it the way I pictured. I didn't have a clear roadmap, no clear MVP, no clear journey, no clear picture in my mind of what the thing would even look like or feel like. But we built it anyway. And some features came together, but, the app started to come out not exactly the way I expected it or imagined. And meanwhile, I was running a part-time business, running a full-time job, the nonprofit, and then also the software application. So I was juggling multiple things. And the picture wasn't clear in my mind, and I got demotivated. And engineers started calling off. I started to miss meetings or just ask for updates in the chat instead of showing up. Communication broke down. The team were pouring hours into the project without no clear equity or compensation because we didn't have funding. And there's no real agreement. And naturally, they started to question the project. and also my leadership. And they had every right to. I missed meetings, had miscommunications, and at one point I had to come back to a room full of engineers asking, like, hey, what happened here? Like, what is even going on? And that was bad leadership. Not bad intentions, because I genuinely wanted the application to support the community and to be well done. But the project didn't ship. And you can have good intentions, but at the end of the day, there's no results. So looking back at it, I can name 4 mistakes. First, I didn't start with the end in mind. I had an idea, not a vision. No roadmap, no first version defined. No clear customer or problem to solve first. If the vision had been sharp enough, it would have pulled me out of bed in the morning and even on the hard days. And it wasn't, so it didn't. Second, I didn't commit to my commitments. I told the team we'd meet 15 minutes every day. And as the leader, I should have guarded that time like it was sacred, because it was. There were days I could have moved things around to make it work, and I didn't. And that cost me their trust. And third, I never set clear expectations up front. I sold the dream without painting the full picture. The risks, the weaknesses, the equity, the funding plan, the uncertainty. I should have walked them through the whole SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and let them choose with open eyes. Because I didn't, trust broke later. And broken trust is brutal to rebuild. Fourth is the hard one to say out loud. I gave up. The app could have been built. There were real obstacles, sure, but when I'm honest, I quit. And that taught me the line between a good leader and a great one. Good leaders get tired, get discouraged, and have to pivot. Great leaders just don't quit just because it got hard. Yeah, so maybe I finished the app one day, but after that, I made a promise to myself that everything I started from here on, I would finish it. Since then, I've completed over 100 projects across small businesses to enterprise, and I learned the biggest lesson of all from that failure. A leader needs 3 things: vision, identity, and purpose. Vision tells you where you're going, a picture big enough to pull you forward and keep you committed long after the excitement wears off. Identity tells you who you are and your values and principles. So when everything is not going the way you want it to go, you stand on your values, and that's your foundation that will not move during the tough times. Purpose tells you why it matters. It gives meaning to the long nights and the pressure. That's exactly what I was missing on the app. I had excitement. I didn't have vision, identity, and purpose. And the identity is the anchor. Today, I can tell you who I am. I'm a finisher. I'm consistent. I don't give up. I'm transparent. I'm a servant leader. And that's what matters when things get hard. The question isn't, why do I feel like doing? It's, who am I called to be? Now, let's look at autonomous AI. It's another SaaS application, an AI-powered operating system I'm building for solopreneurs and service business owners. I did everything differently. Before I brought on a single person, I actually built 80% of the MVP myself. And I know the customer code because I've been serving the same targeted audience for the past 10 years. I had a clear operating agreement drawn up before we even had a conversation. And I showed up to every meeting, even if life happened late to the meeting, or I wasn't feeling well, or life was going on around me, I still showed up. And I'm committed to our purpose, helping solopreneurs generate over $10 billion in revenue through autonomous AI. And we're launching our first MVP this Wednesday to a small subset of users. And start to launch, it only took 45 days. And the difference wasn't the technology, it was the leadership. I had to become a better leader to get a better result. So one of my mentors, Mark Niesman, with Mark Niesman Consulting, taught me a principle called high performance leadership. And it's one of the cleanest ways I've found to actually measure a leader. Picture a grid with two questions. Do they have character and do they produce? And that gives us four kind of people. Low character, low productivity, low character, high productivity, high character, low productivity, and the one that you want, high character, high productivity. Character without productivity caps your impact. And you might have a great heart, but if you never execute, the impact stays small. Productivity without character is worse. It's dangerous. You'll get results while using people, manipulating people, leading them somewhere that they didn't want to go or shouldn't go. And the best leaders refuse to trade one for the other, and they build both. So why does that matter? Because leaders change the world. Martin Luther King helped propel the civil rights movement and moved a nation towards equality. Gandhi led India to independence through nonviolent resistance. Lincoln held the Union together and issued the Emancipation Proclamation in the most divided season this country has ever known. And Jesus left a mark that still shapes even today, 2,000 years later. Completely different men, different eras, different ways of leading, but every one of them influenced the world. And that's the chain reaction. Influence a person and you could change a family. Change families and you could change communities. Change communities and you could change cities and nations. And eventually generations. There's a story that I love, and it's about a father and a daughter doing puzzles on the weekend. And one day they were working on one of these really big puzzles, and they were working on it for hours and they kind of were getting stuck. It was a puzzle of the world, and they kept going at it and at it. And after some time, the father got tired. So he went ahead and took a break, went to the living room, and sat down on his big, lazy couch and was watching his favorite show. The daughter actually kept on working on the puzzle in the other room. So time goes on. By the almost the end of his show, the daughter comes running into the living room and says, "Daddy, Daddy, come look and see." So he gets up from his big lazy chair and he pauses his show and he starts to walk over to the next room. And when he opens the door, he was in awe. The puzzle was finished. And he was like, baby, how did you do this? Like, how did you finish the puzzle? And she took a second and paused and walked over and said, on the back of the box, there was a man. So I started to put together the man. And when I put together the man, I put together the world. Let's repeat that. When you put together the man, you put together the world. And that stayed with me for years. Put together the man and you could put together the world. Put together the person and you could start to influence everything around you. So truly, it starts with you. Leadership begins with personal development. Before you lead a team, a business, family, or a movement, you have to lead yourself. That's what my mom was really doing that day. She wasn't just like correcting a kid who was acting up. She was speaking to the identity inside of me. She was telling me, Alec, you're not here to follow a crowd. You are here to lead. And I believe we're at a time where this message is most significant. You aren't called to follow the crowd. You weren't called to drift or build someone else's empire. You were called for purpose. You're called for vision. And you do have an identity. You just have to rediscover it if you don't know that today. But it starts with a decision. It starts with a decision to stop drifting, to stop blaming those around you. Stop waiting for someone else to take control. It's time to take the wheel and start driving towards your vision. And that's the kind of person that is worth following. And as Uncle John says, he who thinks he leads but has no followers is just taking a walk. So let me ask you a question that matters most. What are you influencing people towards? Is it fear or faith? Is it excuses or execution? Distraction or discipline? Selfishness or service? Leadership is influence, and influence is overflow. What's inside of you is going to come out of you. So build the vision, strengthen your identity, and get clear on your purpose. Commit to your commitments, set clear expectation, lead with character, produce with excellence, and don't quit just because it just got hard. The world doesn't need any more followers. It needs more leaders with vision, with identity, with purpose, with character, and the ability to actually produce. Leaders who pull people towards what's good and what's true. So today's message is simple. Don't be a follower, be a leader, and become the kind of leader worth following. And thank you for joining me here on the Alec Diaz Show. Let's go. If this one helped you, share with somebody that you know. And I'll see you on the next episode.